And we are back. Thank you for joining us. I'm Darren McBreen, and this is the InfoWars Nightly News. Up next, we are joined by Infowars.com contributing editor and investigative journalist Patrick Henningsen, who's been hot on the trail of the Obama birth certificate scandal, as there are clearly inconsistencies, and that's saying it nicely, with the long-form birth certificate released by the White House last year, but also what appears to be a forgery of Obama's Selective Service form as well. Not to mention, well, the huge list of documents that Barack Obama refuses to release to the American people. We're talking passport records, school records, Illinois State Bar Association records, and so on. So the question is, if Obama has nothing to hide, then why suppress all these historical records? Why hide behind the mainstream media and criticize, accuse critics of being either racist or paranoid? And we are joined now by Patrick Henningsen, who joins us from London, England. Patrick, it's good to have you on today.
Good to be with you, Darren.
Hey, now, you got a chance to interview Joe Arpaio personally not too long ago, as well as spend a great deal of time with his veteran investigators, the Cold Case Posse. And tell us why they decided to investigate Obama's birth certificate to begin with and what they learned in the process.
Well, the initial investigation was prompted by a citizens group, about 200 some odd people represented, came to the sheriff's office at Maricopa County and said, we believe that these documents are a forgery. We're talking about the White House PDF birth certificate, which was posted on the White House website in April 2011. Okay. Now, Arpaio said to the press and on record from the beginning, Joe Arpaio said, I'm doing this to clear the president's name, okay? Whatever people might think about his political leanings or what have you, he did say that on record. He said he would like to clear the president and get this over with because it's a national embarrassment and it brings shame to the office of the president and brings shame to the White House. So the Cold Case Posse got on the case, and lo and behold, they have probable cause now that both Obama's birth certificate, the one he released, the one the White House released, and his Selective Service draft card are both forgeries. That's beyond a shadow of a doubt. They've been tested. They've been compared. The Nordic twins from Hawaii, born at the same time as Obama, the microfilm was produced, and that was found to compare with Obama's birth certificate, the PDF copy, not to match. So all Arpaio's saying, and all the investigators and people like Dr. Jerome Corsi, all they're really saying is, show us the microfiche, show the microfilm, and then this whole circus will be all over. Of course, everybody's zipped up about it. It's political suicide in the mainstream to touch this issue. Exactly,
and Sheriff Joe Arpaio touched a little bit upon on that when you got a chance to interview him from the press conference in Phoenix, Arizona. We're going to run a clip of that right now, and this is Arpaio as he talks about the media blackout surrounding the Barack Obama birth certificate scandal.
The majority of politicians don't even want to talk about it, Republicans and Democrats. It's like the plague to talk about this. I've never seen anything like this, and I've been a top federal law enforcement official for years and years. Not dropping, so I'm not dropping this. I'm going to keep moving forward.
Well, the guy's got guts, I'll give him that. I mean, he's taking on the alien in the White House as much as well as getting a lot of harsh criticism from the mainstream media at the same time. And what do you say to critics who are saying that Arpaio is either a racist or he's a paranoid conspiracy theorist?
Well, I think both of those are typical accusations, similar to a straw man case in order to shoot the messenger. And really what it is Joe Arpaio is the only law enforcement official brave enough in the whole of the United States to take on this issue, which is, politically too hot to handle for both the mainstream media and the law enforcement agencies around the country. But, the answer to your first question, Darren, is yes, the president does have something to hide. And there's proof of this. The first executive order signed by President Barack Obama when he took into office in January of his first term was Executive Order 13489. This is the President's Records Executive Order, which effectively seals all the President's history of all his records in college, application forms, financial aid, grades, transcripts, you name it. All in the White House, and Obama spent upwards of $5 million with the law firm in Seattle called Coy Perkins, top law firm in Seattle. They spent that money to find the legal justification for the president to seal all of his records. This is unprecedented in American history, and it's kind of shameful in a way that you have a president of the United States that has to hide his whole past. So basically, everything about this guy is a complete fiction. I just spoke to Jerome Corsi today, and he's under kind of a gag order for the next 2 weeks, which you guys already aware of. They're going to be releasing new information. Cold Case has made a trip to Hawaii and dug a little deeper and obviously found quite a bit to buttress their own case against the president. And this is also in wake of the Arizona Secretary of State's effort to keep Obama off the voter roll, off the presidential ballot in November, and he folded under pressure. And Hawaii issued a statement to Arizona saying that it was officially verified that this was the president's birth certificate, which is nothing more than me getting a note from somebody saying that my driving license is okay without actually having seen the driving license. So that's basically what you've got.
Well, that's right. And you're talking about Arizona's Secretary of State, Ken Bennett. He threatened to keep Obama off the presidential ballot if Hawaii could not produce a hard copy of the document. But now he's backpedaling. He's Ken Bennett, and he ain't in it. I mean, he's even apologizing now for embarrassing Arizona for asking for proof of the birth certificate to begin with. So he's really backing down. Meanwhile, in Hawaii, they still refuse to comply with the request to allow public inspection of the original documents. They just sent out a letter saying, yes, he was born here, and we're all supposed to accept that.
Well, there's a huge amount of political pressure put to bear on Arizona state officials. Representative Carl Seal, spearheaded a bill called the President's Certification Bill, or Candidate Certification Bill, which basically passed through the Senate and through the House. It had enough co-sponsors, and it got intentionally buried in the president of the Senate's office, Steve Pierce, for reasons unknown. Now, you can imagine from the governor right down the chain, Arizona has a lot of dealings with the federal government right now. There's a DOJ lawsuit over SB 1070, was in the Supreme Court. You've got the federal government is withholding approximately $4 billion in money that it owes the state of Arizona for looking after the border and taking care of illegal immigrants and incarcerating them, and you name it. They owe that money. And so you can imagine the White House is holding a gun to the head of Arizona. And Bennett, it's not unlikely in these situations he would have got a warning either through back channels or whatever.
Oh, sure. I feel he changed his mind suddenly for good reason, or for some reason, I'm sure. Back to the birth certificate, the actual document, it's an obvious fake. It's amateur at best. And, you know, the PDF file was released last year by the White House. Anyone could download it. And, you know, it didn't take us but a few minutes before we, here at InfoWars, we put it into, you know, Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, and immediately you could see that there's multiple layers on there. You can move these layers around. So again, and not to take anything away from Arpaio and his team of investigators, but this was about as simple as an investigation can get, you know, and were they surprised when they saw what an amateur job this was? What was their reaction?
Well, you know, Mike Zula was the head of the investigating team. 20 some odd years experience in law enforcement on the state level and I believe the federal level. But he was shocked by what he found because they did work hours and weeks testing and retesting. They went to multiple experts to get second, third, fourth opinions on this flimsy version of a birth certificate that they put up on the White House website. So they were surprised, but there's so much going on with this federal government. It's absolutely unreal. And this Obama birth certificate issue really falls under the banner, a larger umbrella of states' rights. And that's something that I've tried to point out from the beginning. So all these battles with the federal government is the state has the right to call its own elections. It's in the 10th Amendment. It's part of the Bill of Rights. The power is not granted to the federal government nor prohibited to the states by the Constitution, are reserved to the states or the people. It's as simple as that. If the people of Arizona want to take Obama off the presidential ballot because they don't believe he's qualified, then they have a right to. Now, in Florida, there's 180,000 illegal immigrants that have been found on Florida's voting rolls, okay? Now, the federal government and Eric Holder is ordering Florida to stop removing illegal immigrants from the voting rolls. They've already removed 2,700, and there's a estimated over 180,000 of these in Florida. This is a White House that's depending on fraud to get reelected in November. This is really scandals. I can't even count how many scandals we have with this federal government.
Well, and this whole birth certificate issue isn't going to go away anytime soon. Arpaio's not going to be given up anytime soon, and unless he steps in front of a bus or gets really depressed all of a sudden. Let's hope he doesn't end up like Breitbart or Breitbart's Corner, for example. But we've talked to investigative journalist Wayne Madsen, we've talked to historian Webster Tarpley, and others who have said that Obama actually worked for the CIA in the past and perhaps was even raised by the CIA, a real Manchurian candidate, if you will. Now, Arpaio hasn't gone that far, but who knows where this investigation will go from here. What's next for the cold case posse? What are they going to work on next? And what do you think the Obama administration is going to try to do to block any further investigation?
Well, out of the reports from Hawaii, I've been told by Jerome Corsi that they have more damning evidence, but he can't release or talk about it for their reasons until the press conference, which is going to be in the next 2 weeks. So that's something to look out for.
Sure.
The other thing, Corsi has been investigating, and you have to remember, Jerome Corsi has got a PhD from Harvard. He's a top historian. He is a tireless investigator. He's got evidence that possibly links Obama's real father. In other words, it's not Obama Sr. from Kenya. It's quite possibly someone like Frank Marshall Davis,
that's right,
who is an absolute doppelganger for Barack Obama, yep, with big ears and everything. But Frank Marshall Davis was a community organizer in Chicago, ran the Star newspaper, and he was mentioned in Obama's book Dreams of My Father as his mentor. Okay, he's a Communist Party member, completely someone exactly like Bill Ayers. Okay, so he's a journalist, labor union activist, could have been working for the CIA as a labor union embedded agitator, like Bill Ayers is probably an FBI or a CIA informant. Everybody go look into that, because that's quite likely the case. Okay, whether underground. But Frank Marshall Davis, Obama's father, they sure look like he sure got his face and his ears.
Yes, he does.
That's another thing that could come out. I mean, how many more lies about this president?
Well, we don't know who he is. We don't know who he is at this point. So he's really a ghost president with a ghost past. Who knows where this investigation will go from here? I'm certainly going to be at the edge of my seat looking forward to see what they uncover. Patrick, it's good to have you on with us today. I look forward to your next articles and your next video journalism reports, too. They're coming in left and right, so you're putting a lot of those out as well. It's good to have you on the team, and hope to have you back on the show real soon.
Thanks, Darren.
All right, bud. Take care, man. All righty then, and that just about does it for tonight's show. But before we go, I'm going to read you today's quote of the day, and this one from Henry Kissinger during Bilderberg 1992 in Avion, France. He says, "Today, Americans would be outraged if UN troops entered Los Angeles to restore order. Tomorrow, they will be grateful." This is especially true if they were told there was an outside threat from beyond, whether real or promulgated, that threatened our very existence. It is then that all peoples of the world will pledge with world leaders to deliver them from this evil. The one thing every man fears is the unknown. When presented with this scenario, individual rights will be willingly relinquished for the guarantee of their well-being granted to them by their world government. I'm Darren McBreen, and we will be back, God willing, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Central Time, Texas time, that is. And it'll either be Alex Jones or Aaron Dykes will be sitting here as they have triumphantly returned from their showdown with the global mafia that is Bilderberg 2012 in Chantilly, Virginia. So we'll be back tomorrow night. Until then, God bless. Have a good evening.
Sick of the globalist, eugenicist, control freaks adding poison to your water and laughing as you get sick and die? Start purifying your water with ProPure. My friends, I've done a lot of research, and the best gravity filter out there, bar none, is ProPure, and it's available discounted at Infowars.com. Its filters are silver impregnated to prevent bacterial growth. There's no priming required. It's NSF 42 certified. Optional fluoride filters can reduce fluoride up to 95%. Easy to set up and use. Doesn't require electricity. Purify water from lakes, streams, ponds, and wells. This filter system leaves in beneficial minerals, which is key. Save money by not buying bottled water and avoid BPA that leaches from the plastic. ProPure is the best gravity-fed filter out there. It's what my family uses. Infowars.com already has the lowest price on ProPure. But if you add the promo code WATER at checkout, you get an additional 10% off at Infowars.com. You can also call to order 888-253-3139.